What is up, my little Danos? Webs is CEO Coach of the Helsinki Hydreigons, and we are here for the BBL Season 12 draft analysis for my behalf for the team that I drafted for this season. This will be a UBERS format, as you can obviously tell a little bit by the Pokemon that you can see from the screen and from the thumbnail. And the coach lineup you will be able to find down below in the description. Also, hopefully for the... I believe it's gonna include also the server link, so you can join as a fan to follow the league more closely. I'm hoping to have the public document link for there as well, so you can follow the league even more in detail, and hopefully then you can also see the tier prices and follow through the draft analysis and the season as goes along with that. And the general rules you can see right about now on your screen. I'm not gonna ramble them too much, I'll give you a chance to read them or pause the video if you wanna read them more closely. Which I think is important because it will include like how the UBERS drafting works when it comes to like how many UBERS each team can have. On my case, because I'm drafting a gold tier as a round 1 pick, I can still afford a bronze tier 1, which is the lowest tier for UBERS, so I can technically have 2 if I want to. And the Terra rule will be different that I am used to play as. It's more familiar to the showdown scene wise that we are using this season, which is open Terra preview, also including the high tiers able to Terra in itself with the exception of few bans. But that's all this side. Let's just talk about the first pick, which is going to be Rayquaza. And this was a mon that I was... it was on second on my list that I wanted to try behind Mewtwo, and Mewtwo was in the Platinum tier, and unsurprisingly it was the second pick overall, and I was the 7th pick, so there was really no chance for me to get it, but I was very happy getting Rayquaza. The reason why it was second on my list, because that's kind of like hierarchy of order, the Pokemon that were allowed that which legendary Pokemon are my favorite. Mewtwo is by far my favorite legendary of all time, and that's why I wanted it. And Rayquaza happens to be second on the list because Pokemon Emerald was the game that I played the most, and Rayquaza has a huge childhood memories for me in that regard. I love its battle music theme, I love its design as a shiny form especially, and I think in draft format it's very versatile. You can see the stats right about now on your screen. I won't be showing these stats on every Pokemon because once we get into the standard Pokemon you get the idea what they can do, but for Rayquaza, as a reminder, that's what it's looking like right now in Generation 9, what it gets access to and what it lost. I think the big thing that it lost was V-Create, but I think it's still worthwhile trying it because it's still a Rayquaza. It gets access to very strong options both on physical and special side. It can be Dragon Dance, it can be Sword Dance, Choice Scarf, Banded, Specs, Powered Meteor Beam. There's a lot of stuff I can do with this guy, and I'm really excited to use it this season, and hopefully I can use it well in that aspect as well, to bring as many different sets as possible and do a lot of work with it. Then my second pick was going to be a mon that you have seen me use in a standard play as well, and I think in UBERS it has also a lot of value as offensive fairy type, which is going to be Iron Valiant. So Iron Valiant I had in PPL Season 2, which was like my proper introduction back into Generation 9 Wi-Fi. And it was obviously back then in a standard format a round 1 pick. But here, I think basically because of a lot of the coaches who were in the bottom half of the draft order, they were focusing on either getting 2 UBERS, what they are able to afford to get, or they are trying to focus on getting a UBER, and then a very high tier Terra Captain that were best in available in their position of the draft. So basically that kind of allowed me to have a very fortunate spot to get a Iron Valiant in very late round 2, and I'm very happy about it. I think offensive fairy type goes really well with a good speed tier into the UBERS, because a lot of the UBERS are obviously dragon types like my Rayquaza. So having a fast, strong fairy that can be very versatile as well, and something that I'm very excited to use again. I think Iron Valiant is probably one of my favorite Pokemon to use in Generation 9 thus far, and it's not necessarily a surprise because it's so freaking good what it's able to do. And then my third pick is going to be my second Uber that I decided to go after, which was Samacinta Crown. Now, I end up getting a Steel type here that is not resisting Fairy or Flying, which may be detrimental a little bit if I leave it that way, but I did plan to take another steel type a little bit later, and the spoiler alert, that will be the case. So even though Summons in the Crown defensively as a steel type is not the perfect fit, it just gives me very strong piece and a core that I can work with my first three picks being Rayquaza, Iron Valiant, and Summons in the Crown. And from here, my whole idea from going from this draft was trying to draft as much as good support and utility and hazard setters and all these kind of things to really make my first three picks shine as best as possible, at least what I can do with it. So I wanted to draft a lot of like fill out the different boxes of things that I think are important for these guys, and I think they can be useful in general in UBERS format as well. And then I want to have a very strong, somewhat high tier Terra Captain for sure to really amp up my offense besides these first three guys. So the next pick that I was looking at was gonna be a mon that I don't think normally you would see ever go this early. Maybe in a low tier format actually it would be where it usually see going this early, but definitely not in standard or UBERS format, and that happens to be Mesit. Why did I value Mesit so highly to pick it already in round 4? So originally my idea was getting Mew at this point and consider it to be a Terra Captain, or just leave it that decision down the line if I want to make a different Terra Captain and leave Mew as it is. That was something that I was at first thinking mostly of, and then I was also considering maybe Necrozma as well here as a Terra Captain. But once those two went, I decided that, you know what, let me get a crown immunity for my Psychic type that still gets access to Stealth Rocks like the first two that I mentioned. Still can be a very good lead option as well that I have seen throughout this generation. Like we have seen, for example, Ellie use this last season in PBL. I've seen Addison use it a couple of times. I've seen actually one time in low tier, and then I saw Montai in PBL Season 2 with Terra Captaincy also to use it in great success. So all of these different coaches that have been able to use it in a good fashion really made me sold on trying Mesit myself as well in this generation. I like the fact that it's also getting access to Healing Wish that I deemed valuable with my first three picks being Rayquaza, Iron Valiant, and Summons in the Crown. And I like the idea of getting a good crown immunity right from the get-go, because again we are dealing with 18 coaches in total, and not every coach is gonna be happy about their crown immunities, and I did not want it to be one of those, because I really do think having a proper crown immunity is very important part of your draft to have those. Then I decided to go after my secondary steel type that provides me different things than Summons in the Crown would, which is going to be Klefki. And Klefki I haven't actually used in a very long time, and I barely used it at all, so I consider it as pretty much a new Pokemon for me entirely to use. It's giving me obviously the spikes, it gives me dual screens for my high tier guys, it gives me Prankster Thunder Wave that I'm trying to say, obviously, to help me dealing with potentially opposing high tier UBERS or Terra Captains and force them to run either Lumberries, or they have to select one of the three Terra types of like Dark, Electric, or Crown to nullify the Thunder Wave effect. Maybe I'll find a way to get around that myself, prepping wise then, and makes it my decision more easier to how to approach the matchup. So I like it with the presence of Klefki, both what I can do with it in the battle in itself, what it provides for my own team, and what kind of pressure prep wise it forces my opponents as well going into it. So that's gonna be the Klefki. Next one that I end up drafting was particularly quote-unquote early, mainly because of the price that it was settled in these tiers that I thought was pretty much undervalued in Generation 9, and that happens to be Alola. That was actually 6 points, and I think that's got like at least few tiers too low, cause I think this mon now access to Flip Turn became a lot better slow pivot. And I like the fact that again, while it's being a slow pivot, it doesn't have to waste the move going for a Wish, unless I really choose to keep in itself. Like, if you're going for Wish for Alola compared to like Vaporeon, you're not going for the Wish to gain itself healthy, you're getting something else healthy with it, because Regenerator usually keeps it always healthy enough to keep it around it throughout the battle. And I like the fact that it's also another healing Wish user besides having the Wish, to again try to keep my higher tier guys alive and giving me a ice resist and a fire resist. So it gives me a lot of key resistance as well to the team. And I like the fact that while it can be passive in some instance, I feel like I can make up for it with my team already as it is and what I have planned for. And I think just in key moments, in key matchups, not every week, ideally Alola can be useful for me to help out to win the game. So Alola is not something that even though I'm picking it relatively early for its low price, I don't expect it to be mostly to be something that I have to resort to every week. I already have 3 mons already on my roster, the first 3 picks, that are pretty much filling my slots for every single week. Or it would be very surprising if they don't. So it's pretty much just filling out a lot of utility options for the team. Speaking of that, I drafted Marck as my grounded poison type that I saw Ellie using really well in PPL. And I was pleasantly surprised. Funny enough, it was with Mesit and Valiant. Maybe there's a little bit of inspiration there, who knows. But I really like that Marck was also 4 points in this, which I deem very valuable. And I'm able to kind of preserve my budget still, even though I had very strong start to my draft, to kind of flex out the roster in a sense that I have as many tools as possible. And Marck gave me also access to T-Spikes, it got access to knockoff this generation. And I like that it can be like good bulky sponge early game to take key hits, provide me some chip damage, remove some items, and hopefully get some cheeky poison tosses to wear down my opponents so my higher tier guys can win. From there, after that I decided to secure my high tier Terra Captain. This was actually my second choice for the role, the one that I was looking for earlier on, unfortunately got taken. And currently I don't believe it's even Terra Captain for the team in itself. So I was kind of sad about it because I thought nobody would draft the mod that I was looking at. But maybe down the line it gets dropped in free agency and I have a chance to pick it up if I so choose to, and that situation would occur. But I went after a Thunderstarian because I think Thunderstarian with the open Terra captaincy, providing the electric immunity through its ability, is gonna be really strong. And I like the mod that is able to fulfill different kind of needs for our roster. It can be an early game breaker, it can be a very solid choice spectral choice scarf mod, it can be a setup sweeper provided with this support that I already have for that for dual screens from Klefki. And I like its speed here in UBERS and especially the special attacks that it packs, because I feel like it, compared to Incarnate, it can really plow through some of the UBERS. Especially let's say for example there's gonna be a lot of like bulky offensive dragon types that I have to face that are their Uber picks. I could easily become like a Terra Fairy with Thunderstarian, and all of a sudden this becomes a lot annoying for my teams to for my opponent's team to deal with. So I like the fact that Thunderstarian has a very good offensive matches potentially depending on the Terra type of choice that I go with it. And it just gives me another strong offensive weapon on the team that I thought was necessary to still add, besides my, again, first 3 bricks, that first 3 mods that I picked in this draft in itself that are basing my draft around. Then my second Terra Captain and my crown type will be Ryon. I liked Ryon as a potential Terra Captain as well, and giving it more of a purpose on the draft. Because a regular Ryon would have been a little bit underwhelming as a crown type, but I think once you give it the option to Terra, it becomes a lot better mod in itself. Like ideally I would have been able to afford Rhyperior here and also make it a Terra Captain, but I was 1 point short of doing that. So I opted to not even spend my entire Terra budget to fit it in with a Thunderstarian and Ryon, because I do deem them both to be very strong at it. And Ryon in itself also has the ability to stay immune to electric type attacks still with lightning rod. So even if I'm not crown type anymore, I still have the electric immunity similar way to Thunderstarian, which I really thought that is a valuable thing to have for this team out of the Terra Captains. It gives me another rocker, and it gives me that another like a strong tank that can 1v1 pretty much almost anything that I needed to, depending on the Terra type of choice that I go with it. So I love it to be like this bulky offensive option with the Terra Captaincy if I ever need to use it in that role in any particular week, which I feel like there will be definitely cases that will happen throughout this season. Then I drafted Serena. I wanted to add some sort of hazard remover, and most of them were already gone, but surprising enough, I guess, for me, this late of the draft there was still a mon like Serena available that does get access to Rapid Spin, and it has decent options. Can go for knockoff to remove items, gets triple Axu and Play Rough to hit the bulky dragons, and obviously having Crash Tap. And I like the fact that it can also U-turn. I think Serena, I don't expect it to be that great defensively, but like an offensive Rapid Spin set can be good early mid game to make sure that my side of the field is clean and it can do decent chip damage, so that my better offensive weapons can then proceed from there and win the game for me, hopefully. So I like Serena to be kind of like another supporting cast, particularly in the hazard removing role that I just didn't have on the team yet, and also being a ground resist besides the immunities that I have. Then the last pick of the draft will be Incineroar. This will be my dark type naturally for the team. Now I like the fact that it's also a part fire type, because there might be cases that if I'm facing a ghost type that gets access to Will-O-Wisp, having a physical dark type can be tough to deal with those, because then they obviously can get burned and then they are worn down and cannot really kill the ghost type that you might need to. So I like to have a dark type on this case in UBERS that is immune to Will-O-Wisp, and that's what Incineroar is capable of doing. And I like the fact that it can also provide me like short, slow parting shots into my higher tier picks that has the setup opportunities then a lot more frequently, besides the dual screen options that I have drafted for this team. So that's pretty much the team. I like how it turned out, honestly. I'm really excited to use this draft. I think I have a lot of tools that I can utilize. Now it's just a matter for me to bring the best out of it, and that can be a challenge, because I think there is more than 1 or 2 or 3 ways that I can use this team, but I'm super excited about the first 3. I'm super excited about my Terra Captains, and I feel like there's a lot of great supportive tools that I've been able to base around them. And I think, bias aside, the draft turned out to be one of the strongest ones out there, but I am not the one who is going to be necessarily judging these. Obviously there's going to be people wanting to make power rankings for the season, and I'll leave that judgment to them to see where my own draft would rank based on the other teams. And now let me know down below in the description how you think about the team. Did it turn out to be one of the stronger ones that you have seen throughout the BBL thus far, throughout the draft analysis, and from PokeAMD stream that has gone up already before this, where you got to see all the teams unfolding? And make sure to check out again the description down below. Sorry, I'm stumbling on my words a little bit to try to end it. But again, the coaches you can find there. You should be finding all the links that are important for the league. And again, big thank you for Galbina inviting for this league. I'm really excited. Week 1 is gonna be versus PokeAMD, so I'm starting right from the hop versus one of the best coaches in the league and with the biggest audience and the most viewership coming along for that game. So super excited for that, to kick off the season with it. And until then, thank you for watching, and I'm gonna be seeing you guys later.